Hello, Jean-Michel. Again, welcome to the Data 2020 Summit.
Hello.
It's really a pleasure having you with us today. So before we dive into the questions, can you tell us more about your backgrounds and the company that you are representing today?
So I'm representing Talend. So Talend is specialized in data management. So what we do is help the company taking the full advantage of their data and bringing some data agility. Moving data when putting it under the right hands, putting some control of the data, and helping augmenting the data for maximum insight. So that's our business. And personally, I joined Talend 4 years ago with a background in data management, data governance, business analytics. So I have 20 years of experience in this area. And my role is around data governance products, so data quality, master data management, metadata management, topics like GDPR, privacy regulation. So that's my role, and so helping customer implementing those in those topics.
Quite relevant for our summit, indeed. So we have gathered here today to discuss about how actually organizations can prepare for a data-driven future. And from your perspective, how can they speed up this process, let's say, into becoming a data-driven organization?
So what we see, and if you look at benchmarks like things like at Kearney or the most advanced company in data are able to reinvent themselves very rapidly. So let's take the example of Amazon. Maybe 20 years ago, Amazon reinvented retail with e-commerce, but then 10 years ago, they digitalized some of the items, so you don't even have to order a book and wait one day that it comes to you. You have an electronic book that comes, and so Amazon came with a Kindle for that. They also found that the IT, their agility in IT was an asset, so they came with AWS. So they created a business of their IT capabilities. And now you see that Amazon, it was famous for the one click, but now they are coming with the Echo, so you don't even have to click anymore. You just use your voice when you want to order something. So that's the example of an enterprise that is able to perpetually reinvent with data. And that's what we want to achieve. We have many examples of customers like Lenovo, like Travis Perkins, that have a data journey and perpetually reinventing, taking advantage of big data, of cloud, in order to accelerate the benefits they can grab from data.
Thank you. Well, many agree that digitalization, technology development, which is increasing every day, new privacy policies, all of these are forcing organizations to, let's say, reevaluate their information management strategy and focus on creating more of an holistic approach to data management. So how can organizations organize actually their data management and make it modern and ready for the future which is coming? And this all from your perspective. Okay, how do you see this?
So we feel that enterprise had a very top-down approach to information governance and the way they publish and share information within their company. So you had a few savvy people used to design systems, to define the right, to define the policies, to define who can access the data. And so that's a traditional way to manage data. We have done that in business intelligence, for example. But what is now changing is that there's no there's no more difference between information consumer and information producers. Like we've seen in the internet, in the internet at the beginning we were just consuming content,
yes.
and then there were Facebook and things like that where everybody can create some content. And we see the same happening in IT. There are more data savvy people within the line of business. They want to be able not only to consume data, but they want to be able to create data, to link data. So that's why we see the things like data lakes or things like that. So we have to establish a more collaborative approach to data governance, where a lot of people might be involved in curating the data, in making the connection between data, but then there's a need for governance, because those guys maybe they can manipulate sensitive data, etc. So that's what we really see happening. So the establishment of the new, I would say, Wikipedia-like way to manage information within the information. We call it collaborative governance, collaborative data management, and we feel that it's a very promising and a new way to approach the way that information is distributed within an enterprise.
Okay, so we are still in this process. So what would be some of the common mistakes, some of the common traps that organizations should try to avoid, in order for the implementation to be successful into building a data-driven future? So
one very important element is accountability. So being able to be accountable from the information. So we have the example of privacy. I'm very involved currently in GDPR, and if you look at privacy, so we all hear about in the headlines of horror story with leaks, with privacy violations, with kind of alternative facts that are generated through big data, where you create data that is not the real information. So we see that from an external perspective, but within our enterprise, we seem not to be involved. It's very difficult to put the effort to make sure that this information is trusted, can be validated, etc. So that's the main challenge. How can we make companies accountable? And it's a matter of top down. So having the execs care, for example, about GDPR. People like the CFO or the CEO care about the way that that company manage the data about their customer and employees. So it's top down, but it's also bottom up. It's so, for example, the guy who is responsible in a B2B company, the guy who is responsible of a customer should be concerned by the data quality and the information that relates to their customer, and he should be accountable of the quality, and sometimes maybe change the role of a contact when he knows that the guy has changed jobs and things like that. So that's the challenge. How can we make people not just consumer of information and saying, okay, the data is bad, it's the fault of IT or whatever, but have people more involved in making this situation much better and making the data more shareable within the enterprise.
That's all accountability. Another question. Well, technology is developing so fast. And along with it, the buzzwords and hypes like IoT, like big data, data science, clouds, augmented reality, they are developing as well, and have taken the IAM discussion by storm. And even if you listen to it as such, it sounds confusing sometimes. So what can organizations do to organize their data management in such a way that in the future it makes sure it addresses all of these challenges, all of these changes that we actually mentioned?
So you need to have continuous change in mind. So in the past, you used to, when you were talking about the data management, you were making a kind of bet. You were making choosing maybe Teradata or SAP or Oracle, and then you were going 25 years around this kind of static architecture. Now we see, if we look at some of our customers, so they started their analytic journey with an on-premises traditional database, and then they've seen big data, so they took advantage of big data, and then they say that they saw that in this area innovation is so fast, so they found that the cloud could be a way to bring some innovation without having to have the difficult infrastructure part to manage. And so those companies are able, to move their system in a very agile way. So we think that's an important thing, is to consider that this technology or opportunity, and you need to be able to grab the advantage, to be in a kind of test and learn approach. And that's sometimes difficult for European people, because we like to have some proof points and to have everything in mind before we start the system, the project. So we tend to be long before testing the new technology and making them applying them for business case. So that's this approach where catching opportunity with small project, and then going broader, and be able to move an existing infrastructure into something that fits a new business case.
Okay. And one last question, please. If we look at data management technology or practice, so based on your perspective, what can we expect, let's say, in the next 12 months, if we can make such a prediction?
So personally, I'm heavily focused in GDPR. GDPR is coming in, I think it's 259 days, something like that, today. So it's very soon, and I feel, and seeing my customer and prospect, I feel that most companies are not prepared yet. So let's take an example. On May 25th, as a customer of any company, I could ask the company to give me all the data that they have about me. I can ask a company to rectify information. I have the right to be forgotten. I have the data. I can ask this data about me in electronic format. So I have rights that will start in 25th of May. And when we ask company, how will you deliver that? Who is the responsible of that? It's not yet ready. So I think this is a very important. By the way, it's a data management problem, because it's about making data accessible easily to whoever needs it. So normally we should be able to provide that, but we're not there yet. And I think that it's a priority that anyone who is involved in data management in Europe or in a company that works with European citizens should have in mind as a real top priority.
Thank you very much. It was Jean-Michel. It is really a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was a
pleasure.
pleasure.
Thank you for being part of Data 2020 Summit.